everybody. Welcome to another edition of Check-In. I'm Sarah Orleski. He is Jamie Thomas, and we are excited to have you join us today as we get you set for tonight's game between the Winnipeg Jets and LA Kings as this long road trip for Winnipeg continues tonight.
And a long wait for this one tonight, 9 o'clock, I believe.
It's going to be a lot of coffee.
Oh, boy. So, yeah, considering the way they played in St. Paul the other day and the win that they got out of there, it's almost like too long waiting to see what's going to happen next because of the ebbs and flows of that game. Emotionally, it was a roller coaster from the start, and it was all Connor Hellebuyck to keeping the Jets in it and to get the win that they did, considering how they were playing and how well Minnesota was to start. I'm excited to see how they're going to look in this next game against the Kings.
Hopefully they'll continue on from what we saw in that third period. Over the next 30 minutes, we will get you ready for this game. As always, you can watch on X, Facebook, and YouTube. Smash that like button as well. We've seen a number of you in the chat already say that you've done that, so we appreciate that as always. We will hear from Cheryl Pounder as well as former Winnipeg Jet. Nate Thompson's going to join us as well as we get you set for the game.
Yeah, a little bit later in the show, Nate Thompson will join us first. We were just talking about this. When Nate Thompson was a Winnipeg Jet for one season, it was the COVID year.
Yeah.
So... And that was the Canada division, right? So you interviewed him numerous times, and we talked to him on the radio a bunch. Never met Nate Thompson.
That's when he left.
An entire season, never saw him once.
Never had that happen before, obviously. But when
Trevor Lewis too, right?
Yes, yeah. But when he left and signed elsewhere, I sent him a message and I said, I just want to thank you for all the interviews this season. It's the first time that I've ever had numerous interviews with player, but never actually met them in person before. So looking forward to having one. Always love to have the perspective of a former player, and there's always some good stories that go along with that. Let us know in the chat. It's good to see so many of you involved in it already, as always.
I like this. Time to remind the Kings what they gave up.
There you go.
This is like the proverbial rubbing in the face, is it not? A little bit? Not that.
There is going to be a lot of discussion. You can guarantee, whether it be on the CJOB broadcast or the TSN broadcast, that there will be a lot of discussions inevitably about that trade that sent Pierre-Luc Dubois to LA and then had Gabe Vilardi, Rasmus Kupari, and Alex Iafallo come to Winnipeg. And certainly, especially when you look at the contributions that the three of them have made recently. Here is our question of the day, though. So we want to know always where you are watching from. We love to know that. But the question of the day.
In honor of American Thanksgiving, which Winnipeg Jet player are you most thankful for?
You know what I liked is that it's American Thanksgiving. You wrote, though, in honor. You wrote the Canadian spelling.
I know.
We're covering off both. I like it.
Yeah. I think with Canadian Thanksgiving, it happens too early, so you're not able to decide what you're most thankful for. So this is perfect timing because you're 20-plus games into the year, and you are coming off an epic performance from Connor Hellebuyck. You're coming off a tremendous performance from the fourth line, and the third line, for that matter, on this entire road trip. Yeah. So I'm curious, and I'm sure Sarah is curious. I don't want to speak for you. Who are you most thankful for as we wait for our guest to show up a little bit later in the show?
Looking forward to it. Oh, the whole team. I like Sue.
Yeah.
You know what? You can't pick favorites, really. Yeah. It's like picking your favorite child.
Yes.
All right. So it's a great answer, but let's get the conversation going with it. Let's take a look, too. It's a little bit with this Jets and Kings game. Jets obviously sitting first in the league. They're 18-4 record. LA right now, 11-8-3. They have played. Now, they haven't been able, it seems, to really get any sort of momentum going in terms of putting together multiple win streaks. I think they've capped out at maybe 2 wins at a time, but the Kings have played well at home, 6-2-1 on home ice at crypto.com arena, which it will never be normal to me. I'm just going to say that to call it crypto. To me, it'll always be Staples.
Yes. Crypto.com arena. Okay. Turd Ferguson. You get the best one. I'm most thankful for Sarah and this clown shows. Just kidding, Jamie. So.
See, I would have picked that one. That's a great one.
Well, that's why I'm in control of this.
Yes.
So good answer so far.
So looking forward to all this. The LA Kings, the Jets, as you mentioned, coming in off of their win in Minnesota. We saw Ville Heinola get himself into the lineup, so that was great to see. Sheltered him a bit, which makes sense for going in, but thought that he did very well considering this is the first time that we'd seen him back in NHL action since 2023.
Yeah, just over 10 minutes of playing time, played with Colin Miller. And I think it was, we had talked about beforehand about the opponent they were playing against and what Minnesota is. So to throw Ville in there over, playing 20 minutes with the way Minnesota was playing that game was the right idea. So I'm pretty sure you're going to see a lot more of Billy Hainela here this evening against the Los Angeles Kings.
I mentioned crypto.com. What did you think about that arena when you're there?
Okay. So I'm trying to remember which member of the staff, it was the ice staff, came along on one of the road trips to Los Angeles, and they were looking into the ice plant. Jared Alingi, of course, came with us, and Jared was talking with them. He had discovered this is when the Clippers was still in the building, that the Crypto.com arena was busy 265 of 365 days of the year.
It's incredible.
The amount, because you just think of all the shows that come in there. It's a massive building. You got the Lakers, you got the Kings. I also didn't realize the Kings were the primary tenant at Crypto.com arena, because the gentleman that owns the Kings owns Crypto.com arena.
I didn't realize that either.
I had always thought the Lakers were the primary tenant, but it was Kings, Lakers, Clippers.
All
Now
right.
the Clippers have their own building, so of course it's just Kings and Lakers now.
It's always fascinating. So they didn't have to do the changeover. They're not going to have to do it tonight after the game. But if you ever go online and take a look at some of the videos that arena has posted about the changeover, it's really quite remarkable to see when they go from hockey to basketball. Sometimes they'll have, back when the Clippers played there, they would have two basketball games there in a day, the Kings of the doubleheader, as you switch over from Lakers to Clippers or vice versa. It's really something. I'm always impressed when we see the staff here be able to do it at Canada Life Center. But when you think about having to switch from ice to hardwood or from Lakers to Clippers, it's a very interesting, they're always very interesting.
Well, the most interesting part about the Clippers and Lakers thing is there's exactly, it's poor Clippers. Not good. We can get into that a little bit. The Lakers, of course, have a lot of banners and a lot of retired jerseys, so they're up on the ends. They had to cover. They cover those up for Clippers games, and you can imagine with the lack of championships and the lack of anything for the Los Angeles Clippers, there's not a whole lot to cover up when the Lakers are playing for that part.
Yeah.
So
Poor Clippers.
you can understand why the Clippers have moved into their own building.
Yeah, which is an interesting building all on its own. As mentioned, we're going to have Nate Thompson join us shortly at about 12:45, and then looking forward to having Cheryl Pounder, TSN analyst, join us as well. She was on the broadcast the other day. Always a great analyst, and looking forward to hearing from her. So here they are, game 4 of this 6-game road trip going in. There's been so much talk. We've discussed it. Other media have obviously as well. Just the length of this trip, not only in terms of days, but going from coast to coast, essentially, that as well. What was the longest road trip that you remember being on?
So are we talking with Jets, or we're just talking overall?
Sure, just overall, or even with broadcasting. Let's not.
Okay, so when I covered the Lethbridge Hurricanes, they went through BC and then into the US, came back up, went through BC. And I remember just being on the bus, and imagine a bus full of teenagers that had been eating scrambled eggs and bacon every day for 11 days.
Oh no.
I remember the assistant coach, Michael Dick, had a Febreze canister, and it was a spray. You remember those? And he had a pen, and it was just pushing the Febreze in the back part of the bus. That was the stinkiest bus I've ever been on. So that was the longest one, 11 days, I think it was. So yeah, that's the longest one I've ever been on. What about yourself? Not as gross as that, I know. Yeah.
Not as gross as that. But I always lean back when I think about long road trips. I always think about when it was with TSN and the national rights TSN still had, and so playoffs we would always do. So often we'd cover 2 playoff series in the first round. So every day you were flying into a different city. So you would walk into the production truck, and there would be a sign that would be posted there that would say, today is, I don't know, April 18th.
Yeah.
You are in Minnesota. Just so that you know, because you'd get to the point, flying commercial too. Every day you're going somewhere else, where you would show up at the ticket counter and they'd say, where are you going? It's like, I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
It's either A, B, C, or D.
That when you have those and you wake up in your hotel room and you're like, where am I? Yes.
Or you get into an elevator. If any of you have
oh
traveled
my gosh,
much,
when you forget hotel room you have
on vacation, or maybe if you travel for work and you get into the elevator and you think, I am not sure what floor I am on.
And then you get off on the floor and you're like, what room was it again? And you're, especially if you just left another city.
It?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
I've been outside a door many times.
Yeah. Nope, not this one. No. Move on.
Yes.
Move on down. So be interesting to hear. That's one of the things I want to ask Nate about, is just with all of his years. I mean, he played, I think, over 880 games. You think about the different teams he was on, just what the challenge is of of being on the road for this length of time and the different time changes in particular.
Yeah, that's and he'll have tons of those stories, having played all over the league as well. And I mean, he played in Alaska as well, and I'm trying to remember what league it was because we had him as a guest, and Paul Edmonds, of course, covered that. Nate Thompson during his time, I think it's the East Coast League. I'm trying to remember now. Anyways, it'll come to me. Or it could be the International Hockey League. Anyways, bad memory, but good stories coming up from Nate Thompson here at 12:45.
Yeah, looking forward to it. I love all of seeing where everybody again is watching us from. So welcome to everybody. If you haven't joined us before, we are on at 12:30 on Winnipeg Jets game days. If for some reason you are not able to join us, not able to join the conversation, then make sure that you catch it afterwards on YouTube, X, or Facebook. Oh no, this is never good when Jamie starts laughing. It always makes me
ever got an elevator
nervous.
That a bunch of kids who've been eating eggs just got off? Yes.
Oh no.
Forever parts are funny. Sorry.
The biggest concern out of that road trip that he talked about, the biggest issue might not have been the teenagers.
Yeah, probably.
Probably not. Just things have become very, very clear.
Yeah, right.
Someone who has seemed to excel on this road trip so far is Connor Hellebuck.
Yeah. Just unbelievable the other day. So you're sitting there thinking after they played Nashville, they're gonna have, what was it called? The Hornet in the Helmet.
Yes. Whoever said that, if you are on the chat right now, let us know. Came up with that yesterday about being the bonnet.
The show is off the rails. Thank you,
Hornet. No more. Yes.
Hornet in the Helmet. So I thought the Hornet in the Helmet thing with the Jets were going to have their A game to start. Minnesota 100% ready to go. And it was the Connor Hellebuck show for the first 30, 35 minutes. And just the response from the Jets, watching their goaltender keep them in the game. And once Nino Niederreiter scored the second goal, then the Jets, I felt, took over. But just
but they got goalie. Minnesota early.
And they talked about it afterwards. Yeah. Jake Middleton, who scored the first goal of the game, the only goal of the game for that matter for Minnesota, said they got goalied. And even the John Hines afterwards talking about how well Connor Hellebuck played. And there was the rumor that Bill Guerin had said, hopefully you play like, I'm paraphrasing, hopefully you play like that at Four Nations face-off with the Americans. Connor Hellebuck refused to answer that question.
Yeah.
Said no comments. But clearly another reason why Connor Hellebuck's going to be the starting goaltender for the United States at Four Nations face-off. In the meantime, Jets fans will just take it in as their goaltender because he was so good the other night and he's been great on this road trip. And just looking forward to see. We're not sure who's going to start tonight. The Jets had the day off yesterday. Ordinarily, I thought if Connor Hellebuck is as busy as he was on Monday, that they would give this game to Eric Comrie. But with the day off yesterday, maybe that's enough rest time for Connor Hellebuck. We won't know for a little bit here.
No, so you'll have to make sure that you stay tuned to Winnipeg Jets social media channels afterwards with the updates. Mitchell Clinton is always fantastic about letting us know whether or not the Connor Hellebuck routine is underway, because right now it is only 10:43 out on the coast. But Hellebuck on the road this season so far, 7-1. He has a .929 save percentage, a 2.12 goals against average, and 1 shutout. So he tied an NHL record for fewest games to reach 15 wins. He is certainly, I think that yesterday I was on Winnipeg Sports Talk and Huss was saying that they've moved on essentially from talk about whether or not he should win the Vezina. And now their focus is on whether or not he should win the Hart.
I imagine there's our first guest of the morning show or the afternoon show here has every idea what it's like to play in front of Connor Hellebuck. He is former Winnipeg Jet, former NHLer, now broadcaster, Nate Thompson. Nate, thanks so much for joining us. How are you today?
Thanks for having me on.
Go ahead.
All right. Well, Nate, we were just saying before you came on, actually, when we started with the show, we were saying about how when you were with the Jets in that 2020-21 COVID season, that we all spoke
Never saw
to
you.
Never got to meet you though. So the most original of seasons that no one ever really wanted to repeat again. But just your time in Winnipeg, what do you remember about that season?
I think that was the biggest thing. And I think looking back on it, and it's funny you mentioned is playing in Winnipeg. I wish I could run it back because I didn't get to experience the fans and the media and everything that goes along with playing in Canada. And so it was a little bit of I wish, but at the same time, I had a great time playing Winnipeg. I enjoyed living there. It was a great team we were on. So all in all, I was happy to be Winnipeg Jet, but wish it was a little bit longer and in front of a lot more fans, obviously.
Fair enough.
You're making the adjustment from playing to broadcasting. How's that going for you?
You guys know it takes some time and just practice and get my foot in the door now. But I enjoy it. The first game I did with the Kings, the night before, it actually felt like I was getting ready for a game. So it was nice to get those those jittery nerves and those feelings back. So I'm enjoying it, like I said, and hopefully it just keeps going and keeps getting better.
Before we get to questions about the game and on the ice, was joining the media or trying to pursue a career in media post playing days always something that was on your radar?
I look back from the time I was a kid, and I was always watching Sports Center, and there was one show that my dad and I would watch every Sunday night. It was called The Sports Machine with George Michael, and he used to host this thing on Sunday night, and I would always look forward to watching that because it was always the night before school, but I got to stay up and watch it. So I think from the time I was young, I was always watching, Gary Thorne and Bill Clement, and just, the names can go on and on with all the people, Don Cherry, Ron McLean, everybody. So I was always watching that stuff, and it was always something that I was interested in. So fast forward, here I am trying to do the same thing.
Very cool.
The Jets are on a really long road trip. They're bouncing around multiple time zones. How did you handle that as an NHLer moving around? I know you did a lot more of that before the NHL, but it just what was the key to you to being the best player you could be when it came to be game time during a long road trip?
Sleep, all the proper nutrition, all those things. But sometimes it's easier said than done when you're traveling in different time zones and losing hours, gaining hours, and and I think now with the technology and all the strength coaches and the nutrition, they're kind of telling the players, okay, we're in this time change, you need to try and stay up until this time so you get the proper amount of sleep. And there's so many different things you have to take into account, but I think for the most part now it's just trying to take care of yourself the best you can over a long season.
Leading the way for the Kings this year, a team obviously that
always
Anze Kopitar. What is it that makes him so special, Nate, from a player perspective?
This guy, it's amazing, isn't it? Every year he's leading the team in points, and he's just doing the same thing. And I think we almost take it for granted because people think that, oh, it's Anze Kopitar, he's just going to be the same, But like he's an ageless wonder, and I think he's just the ultimate professional, and the way he goes about every day. And I think the biggest thing with Kopi is he just loves the game. He enjoys being around the guys. He enjoys being around the rink. He comes to work every day with a smile on his face, and he leads by example. And you're seeing it now, and it's fun to watch. I mean, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer that just keeps producing and keeps doing well every year.
What do you expect tonight? I mean, the Jets are coming off such an emotional win in a divisional game. They fly to Los Angeles, and again, changing time zones, and a couple of them actually for that matter. But what do you expect to see from both sides, from the Jets and the Kings perspective?
And I think especially for the Kings, they're coming off a pretty bad loss to San Jose, where I think that's one of those games where they're kind of throwing the video away on that one, and just kind of moving on to the next. And possibly, I think what the at fault is they were maybe looking ahead to Winnipeg and forgetting about San Jose. So it was a bit of a little bit of humble pie for them, I guess. I guess you could say, against San Jose. So I expect a really good game tonight. I know the Kings are probably going to bring their best, and then at the same time, you look at the Winnipeg Jets. I mean, Winnipeg Jets are making me look really good this year. I picked them to win the Central Division this year, so they're making me feel very, very, very smart. For all you Winnipeg Jets fans out there, I'm a Jets fan this year because they're making me look good. So I expect a really good game tonight. I mean, you guys were talking about Connor Hellebuck before I came on, and to me, he's got the Vezina lock. That's done. It's just how many other awards he's going to win. And just watching this team, I've got a chance to watch a majority of their games, or not everyone, but they've been fun to watch. I mean, they have a bit of everything in their lineup, so it'll be a good game, and I'm definitely going to try and tune into one tonight.
Nate, appreciate the time. Thank you so much for your time here in Winnipeg. Wish we got to spend some more time together face to face, but this is probably going to be the best we're going to have to do it over the next little bit. Congrats on your broadcasting start, and all the best to you going forward.
I mean, it was good to see you.
Thanks so much,
Thanks,
Nate. Really appreciate it.
Nate Thompson. Another cool part I forgot to bring up with Nate. He was given the number 11. Rick Rippon wore that here. Nobody else has worn that number. So it was because of how great of a person Nate Thompson is, and that's how highly esteemed he was held within the Jets organization. So it is unfortunate we didn't get to spend a lot more time with him, because he is a great team player. He's a great person, and has faced some adversity in his lifetime and has met that head on. So it was just great to have him. He was such a big part of the Jets that year, and especially in that opening round series against the Edmonton Oilers that the Jets went on to win.
Yeah, well, like I said, it's odd to have, so sometimes go back and forth on social media, just keeping up to date on different things with the Jets, let's say. And but it is odd to have never formally met him.
Yeah.
But I wish him all the best in his transition into broadcasting. I always think
He'll
it's
be
interesting
fantastic
when players transition over, because one of the biggest adjustments, and I say this to everybody, is fine. You obviously, you know what you're talking about. Can you say it concisely? And if you have someone talking in your ear telling you, okay, you've got 15 seconds, you've got 20 seconds.
That is the biggest challenge. Somebody talking in your ear
100%.
while you're talking. Yes. I got thrown off a lot earlier on that one. So Nate's going to face that head on, as he always has, and he's going to be fantastic.
All right. We are expecting Cheryl Pounder to join us momentarily for it as we get ready for, this is the busiest, about this, I looked this up.
Yeah.
Here's a absolutely random.
Okay. Fun fact.
Sure. If we want to call it fun. I don't know. It's the busiest Wednesday of the NHL season tonight.
Okay.
How's that for random? 15 games.
Well, because Thanksgiving's tomorrow in the United States.
Yeah,
so okay.
It's the busiest one.
That makes sense. You know what else makes sense? Bring in Cheryl Pounder. There she is.
I'm here. I made it.
We love it.
We love it. We love it. We love having you. It's just, but we heard you were doing a little bit of driving, which can be challenging.
You gave me the extra 10 minutes, guys. I made it to my kitchen. The phone might ring because it's my 407 bill coming in, because I do have a landline still. You might hear birds chirping in the background, kids coming into the house, whatever it might be. We'll just block out the noise.
I can't tell you how much I appreciate that you still have a landline.
Yeah.
Cheryl, that is, I do as well. And
I do not.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
I think it was just cheaper. I think it was like, it's a 2-for-1 package. Keep your landline for the same money. So we were like, okay. But the problem is when you actually get phone calls and messages on your landline, and you check them a month and a half later, you don't actually check your landline, it's a bit of a problem. So anyway,
I hear you. All right. I can still remember, you know what? I could not tell you what the vast majority of cell phone numbers are. I can still tell you a number of landline numbers, though, from growing up, just because kids today just will never understand.
Did you not?
I can hit the recall button right now and tell you what where I lived my entire childhood, what that number was. My girlfriend's number.
100%.
It's in the back of my mind, and I don't even know my kids' phone numbers right now. They're just in your phone. So anyway, it's great to be here.
Well, we're so happy, Cheryl, that you were able to join us. And, we just had Nate Thompson on before you, and we were talking about he's starting to make a transition into media and post-playing careers. And obviously, you've been a part of the media world for so many years now, but your role continues to expand, and you do so much great work with TSN. You're with EA Sports. I mean, there's just, the list goes on and on. What did you find the biggest transition was for you when you moved into the broadcasting and media world from being a player?
Well, it's interesting. I think one of the most difficult things was I went right into the booth, and I think there's an expectation that you know the game, which you do, but you know it from a different vantage point. So I always found, especially in the beginning, that I could have coached in the game, played in the game, or sat on my couch and watched the game at home and told you everything that had happened in the game. And then being in the booth for the first few times, I was like, I can't see a damn thing. Like what? And so just sort of training your eyes, preparing differently, and understanding how it works. I think one of the biggest difficulties when you go in, and sometimes you do get thrown in as a former player, that you don't know how it works. You don't know what the cameras do. You don't know what the truck does. I mean, guys, for the first probably 2 years in the booth, I didn't even know I could mark my own plays. Well, think about that for a second.
Okay.
So I had option to basically recall plays and talk about what I wanted to talk about, know it was coming. And I had no idea. So I was seeing it as the viewer was seeing it because I didn't know. And I think once you get into it like that, you learn how to prepare. I think that's a big thing, is what works for you. And then you understand sort of behind the scenes, which sort of helps you in front of it. And, but yeah, certainly the game was fast, or felt fast for me. And then you add all those other elements, and it was a bit chaotic, shall we say, but different from the panel, where you just have to articulate concisely what you want to say, not be chopping word salad, and figure it out quickly. And I think that's, you know, the difference between the two, for sure, for me.
I'm going to take you back to your playing days, Cheryl. So when Connor Hellebuck was putting on the show, he was, to the first 30, 35 minutes the other night. You obviously had those games where your goaltender held you in. So what was that like as a player, where whatever you guys are doing isn't working and your goaltender keeps you in? What's that feeling like on the ice?
Well, thank God, right? I think there's a few things. Certainly, it's calming. I think there is a confidence. It's an unwritten confidence. It's an underlying feeling. It's an intangible that when you know that your goalie has your back, you can play a certain way. I think sometimes when your goaltender is inconsistent, you do things you may not normally do. You don't want shots going in. It's in the back of your mind, whether, you know, you don't consciously put it there. It's just there. So knowing that someone has your back, just brings a calmness. Even if there is one that slips by, or you get behind one, you know that you are going to be in the game, right? So go get one back, because the guy's not, you know, he's going to keep you in the game. And I think that's a really big piece, especially in a long season where you don't have your A game, and you got to find a B, somewhere between a C and a B, and you got a goaltender behind you that allows you to win and keeps you in games.
Alex Iafallo was such a huge part of the Jets' win on Monday, and one play that stands out in particular is the Jets' second goal, where Jake Milton has the breakaway. Hellebuck makes a bunch of saves. Alex Iafallo goes in, clears Milton out, and is tied up with two players on the way back. That allows the Jets to break out 4-on-3. When you break down that play, how cool was it to watch Alex Iafallo tie up two players and not take a penalty at the same time?
Yeah, it's impressive, isn't it? Where you are 1-on-2, you're not taking a penalty, you're managing to tie up, and whenever you tie up, you open up. And I think that's the biggest thing. You're opening up space, especially when you've got two on you, and then you can get going the other way. And I think that's just a critical element, is what you do off puck, what you do on it, of course. But I thought he just had a tremendous game. Even, you know, I think it was his first goal with Kupari down low, just the way he skated off the puck as well, I think is absolutely critical. You know, just being aware of where you are on the ice at all times, and get going. And I just love the play, right? And then look at this entry, the delay. The delay is everything from here, you guys. I was talking about it as an analyst. The coverage continues to sag on the delay, and then you've created the pockets that you want. And then, of course, the goal results in that. But, you know, I just thought, in perspective, I just thought that he's had such a fabulous game. It's a confidence booster when your third and your fourth line guys are finding ways to get it done for you and generating offense. Because as we know in this NHL game, when ice closes up pretty tight, you have to have the ability to use your depth. So depth coming through. I mean, certainly the Jets have a lineup that has it.
Tonight's game against the LA Kings, I think the Kings have had some challenges getting or sustaining momentum, Cheryl, throughout the season, or they're coming in off of that bad loss against the Sharks as well. Yeah. They're currently in a wild card spot. You think of Winnipeg that continues on this long road trip, but when you look at these two teams matching up tonight, what is it that you think maybe we have in store for us?
Well, you want to make sure that you're ready to play. I think the biggest thing coming off of really a butt kicking, LA, right? 7-2 against the Sharks. You know, I'm interested to see what they bring from puck drop, whether it's a little bit desperate. And so I think that the Jets have to be aware of that. I think they got to get pucks through to this net, right? I think you got to continue to drive the middle of the ice, because goaltending's not great. You know, Riddick is coming off a tough one. I'm not sure who's showing. I'm assuming it's him with Kemper out. But yeah, I think the big thing there is the Jets have to play fast. I thought that they were on their heels a little bit last game against the Wild. I think a product of the Wild really kind of taking it to them early. And of course, Hellebuck keeping them in the game. but finding their legs connected and not chasing the game. So I think they want to be assertive and dictate that pace right away with a physical nature as well, because this is a group, you don't want them to start with any spice. I think it can be a little bit of a trap, but I think that this is a team that certainly can find ways to get it done. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it. I'm on the Sens game as well, so I'm going to keep my eyes out for all different games tonight. But I get pucks to that net, get bodies in front, drive the mid lane.
I got a question though. With the landline, do you have a hamburger phone? Do you have a football phone? Like, what kind of phone do you use?
Oh, no, just regular phone. Actually, I have it right beside me because it's a landline and I don't know how to turn it off. There was a good chance that it was going to ring. So, well, because my 407 bill is likely due, and that's usually what it is. So I've got it right here.
Love
just
it.
So that if my 48-year-old self doesn't know how to turn the ringer off, like.
It's a whole nother show, Cheryl, that the three of us can discuss all of the different elements of technology that we struggle with, because Jamie and I together have had no shortage of, do you know how to do that? I have no idea how to. You know how to adjust this on the camera? I don't know how to do it.
I am so with you. And even sometimes we're in studio and I'm marking plays and I'm trying to sound like I know I know from the analytics perspective and from an analysis, I can like draw a line there. And then I'm like, they gave me an iPad once thinking that I might be able to operate it. And I can't draw a stick man. And so whatever I was drawing, breaking down the play, I was like, guys, I don't know if I can actually put this and break it down with arrows in circles on my own on a panel. Otherwise, we're going to be well past it by the time we get here. Or we're going to have X's and O's in the wrong spots, and there's going to be some really creative art that could cost me my job.
Artistry may not be your forte, Cheryl, but analysis certainly is. You are such a joy to watch, whether it be covering the women's game on the TSN panels, when you contribute to the Jets on TSN broadcast as well. Is always great. Always look forward to it. And we appreciate you hurrying home to spend a few minutes with us today.
Thank you, guys. And Sarah, I'm still waiting. I'm trying to get a call to a home game to get on that desk beside you. I'm trying. I'm pushing for it.
Crossed, Cheryl. We'll have a great time when it happens.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thanks so much.
See you,
Appreciate
Cheryl.
it. Cheryl Pounder. Absolutely. Well, I've said
to come into Winnipeg and sit beside you on the desk during the broadcast is what she's talking about.
Well, just
I
in
thought
general.
she was like punting me off this.
No. Well, but I mean, if she's in town, we might as well give you a morning.
Tell you what, I will more than happily step aside for that one because respect.
Absolutely.
Respect. Yeah.
Quickly, just as we wrap up today's show, the Jets are on the ice right now for their morning skate. Mitchell Clinton saying that Connor Hellebuyck's starting routine is underway, so the day off, it appears, was enough for him. No changes for the lines. Was not able to see anything as to whether or not David Rittich is in net for the Kings, but with Darcy Kemper being injured, it's likely that he will be back in. Obviously, he did struggle in that game against San Jose, allowing just 7 goals on 21 shots. Goaltender, though, that we know well from his time here.
Yeah, David Riddick, and a funny guy. My goodness, I saw him in the elevator a lot during road trips, and that guy is hilarious. But trying to keep the Kings on the track in the Pacific Division. There's a lot of interesting teams. Calgary Flames up in the top part. The Kings, those are two teams I did not think were going to be contending in the Pacific Division at this time of year.
No, the Jets, as we wrap 4-0 versus the Pacific, they are averaging 5.75 goals a game. Woo, against the Pacific. Neil Pionk with points in all 4 games. How about this? When scoring first, the Jets 10-0 this season. We will see whether or not they are able to open up the scoring tonight against the LA Kings. As we close things out, though, one final note: Manitoba Moose have a homestand going on.
Yes.
Getting set for with Calgary, and some big news out of Moose Line today.
Yes. Dominic Toninato has been named the 12th captain in Manitoba Moose history. So congratulations to Dominic.
Absolutely.
Well deserved. Just a great guy and obviously a great leader within the Moose dressing room as they try to keep their season going and getting some success and get some momentum going.
All right. Appreciate all the comments, all the chat that's going on right now.
Yeah, you guys are on fire today,
yes.
by the way. Yes, well done.
Fantastic. We hope to continue it on Friday as well. The Winnipeg Jets will be in Vegas, so another Pacific Division matchup. Should be a great one. We know the rivalry, obviously, and the history that exists between those two clubs. So should be looking forward to a good one. 9 o'clock tonight. Jets, Kings, you can catch it on TSN. You can listen to it as well as always on CJOB and Power 97.
Enjoy your day, afternoon, evening, and we'll see you guys on Friday.
Thanks so much for checking in, everyone.